Have you been invited to your first game of Dungeons & Dragons, but you're not sure what to do? Or are you thinking about getting into the game, but don't know anything about it or where to even start? Well, I'm going to try to explain the very basics of playing Dungeons & Dragons in only 5 minutes. Can it be done? Well, let's find out. Starting now. In Dungeons & Dragons, you will play a single fantasy character in the game, such as an elf, a dwarf, a mighty wizard, or a powerful warrior. You can create your own character with the rules in the player's handbook, but hopefully, if you're new to the game, your Dungeon Master, or DM, will have a pre-generated character ready for you to play. The DM is the person who controls the game world, makes decisions for characters who are not controlled by the players, and keeps the game running. Generally, he or she will describe a situation to you, and then you'll describe how your character responds. The DM will describe how things changed because of the action you took, and then you will get to respond again to the changing circumstances. That's basically it. That's what you're doing, and that's what it means to play D&D. However, sometimes there will be a question as to whether or not your character is able to accomplish something that he or she wants to do. For instance, if you want to jump over a pit, there's a chance you might fall in. In order to adjudicate actions which have a chance of failure, you will conduct a check by rolling a 20-sided die, called a D20. Each check is associated with one of your character's attributes. These attributes are Strength, Dexterity, Intelligence, Wisdom, Constitution, and Charisma. The associated attribute adds its modifier to the roll of your D20. The DM will indicate what attribute is associated with the check you need to roll. For instance, in order to jump the pit, you might need to make a Strength check. Just roll a D20, add the modifier for the relevant attribute, and report that number to the DM. And yes, attribute modifiers can be negative. In this example, this fighter has a dexterity score of 9, which means the dexterity modifier is -1. The player would have to subtract 1 from the roll of the d20 on any dexterity checks. You are trying to roll higher than a certain number the DM has assigned for the task, called its difficulty. The more difficult the task, the higher the number you must roll equal to or more than to achieve success. For instance, the wider the pit, the higher the difficulty will be to jump it. Whether you succeed or fail, the DM will describe the results. Then you will have an opportunity to attempt another action based on the changing situation. Oh, and sometimes a particular skill will make it easier for you to accomplish certain tasks. You can check over the skills on your character sheet to determine which skills you have proficiency in. If you're proficient in a skill that you think might help you to accomplish your task, and the DM agrees it would be helpful, you can add your proficiency bonus to the D20 roll in addition to the attribute modifier. For instance, being proficient in athletics would allow you to add your proficiency bonus to the strength check to jump the pit. In this case, you can see the fighter's proficiency bonus is +2. Here's the list of skills. On these pre-generated character sheets, the number here in this column totals the proficiency bonus and the relevant attribute modifier for the attribute most often used with that skill. Handy. Now, combat. When you want to attack a creature, like an orc, look for the attack roll modifier for the weapon you want to attack with. Roll a d20 and add the attack modifier. Tell your DM the total you rolled. To hit your target, you need to roll equal to or better than the target's armor class, or AC, which represents how difficult it is to hit the creature. You have an armor class as well. Look for it on your character sheet. That is the number that monsters must roll equal to or higher to hit you when you are being attacked. The higher your AC, the harder it will be for enemies to hit you. If you roll over the target's AC, you have hit the target and then you roll damage. But, by the way, if you roll a 20 on the d20 during the attack, that's called a natural 20, or a nat 20, and it's extra good in combat. Everyone at the table likes rolling nat 20s. It means your attack was extra powerful, and so you get to double the amount of damage done to the target. Speaking of damage, the weapon you are attacking with also has a damage characteristic. Roll the dice indicated and add any modifiers. Damage rolls make use of all the strangely shaped polyhedral dice that you may already associate with gaming. The D indicates die, and the number tells you the number of sides on the die that you are supposed to roll. For instance, 2d8 plus 2 means roll 2 8-sided dice, add them together, and add 2 to the result. Your friends at the gaming table can help show you which dice are which. If you do so much damage that your target loses all of its hit points, it is dead. Good job. Hit points are what tracks how close to death a creature is. You have hit points too. They're on your character sheet. If monsters successfully attack and damage you, you will lose them. If you lose them all, then you'll have to start taking death checks to see if you die. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it does, your friends at the table should be able to help you. You will also want to read over the rest of your character sheet before the game starts. It will give you some additional information on any special powers you have because you belong to a certain species or because of the character class that you are, like wizard or fighter. Most of these are straightforwardly written on your character sheet and describe what they do, but ask your friends at the table if you have any questions or need additional information. If you're playing a spellcaster like a wizard, warlock, sorcerer, or cleric, you can also cast spells, but to explain spells, I would need another 5 minutes. So that's it. That's how to play Dungeons & Dragons in 5 minutes. If you understand all of the above, you have all the information you need to start playing at my table. Everything else, you'll pick up as you go. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please check out the other playlists on my channel for other videos about Dungeons & Dragons, role-playing in general, fantasy, and more. See you in another video.